Welcome to another Plan 6 part video. Welcome to the last part of tr6 dash installation. So, on the last video, I had a little awful trouble getting the hazard and the brake light in, and I couldn't get the bulb to stay in, and I found out why. So, let me show you. Here's an original harness. Here's the original bulb holder. I want you to take note of the length between here and here, because one bulb, which one is it? This one, yeah. So one of them actually, when you push the bulb in, it comes down. So look at the barrel, if you want to call it. Now here's one, off a new wiring harness. Look at the difference in length. So the difference in length, what happens is the bulb is not going as deep into it. So therefore, if you're putting a new harness on, you have LEDs, be mindful of this. This is what the issue is. This is what it was. So you have sort of three choices. One, you stick with the halogen bulbs and they'll fit in no problem. Two is you splice and put an old adapter in. Or three is you figure out to get a really short bulb. That's really it. So that was the issue with that. Now, one more thing did arise. And again, like anything, even the new wiring harness has gremlins. And I found something new out today. So, let me go back to the book again. So, on the last video, I said about the ignition. What goes where, right? I was telling you this, and then on the next page, I believe it showed you what colors go to where. That's wrong. It tells you the white is here, the brown white is here, the white red is here, and that's the auxiliary. That's wrong, because I actually followed this and nothing happened. In fact, as soon as I turned it on to MAF or ignition 1, the car wanted to start. So what I discovered is, let me zoom in a bit. What I discovered is, don't follow this diagram, right? This one here where it says white is actually where the white red goes. That's the actual starter. That's the one that's on the spring load. That's a single one on its own. Now I know why I had three white wires trying to go to a single spade connector. So this here is wrong. The only thing I can imagine what's really wrong here is maybe the white, red, and the white are on the wrong side. But yeah, no, this is wrong. Unless this is for a UK and you run their wires a little different, I don't know. But yeah, so what you do is follow this one. Go back actually to this one here. This tells you the order in which it goes, and this is where you can see how it's wrong. Is that it says the white red goes on this one, which, sorry, you can see the white red is here, which actually runs your starter motor. That's the one that should be the last one that's on spring that actually kicks out the starter. Now if you look at it here, it says off is off, auxiliary is 2 to 5, right? So main power is in here, and then when you turn the first key, it goes from here to 5. That's the first part. So you could put your radio on 5. That's where you'll put it. So the first click, you'll get power for radio if you put your brown here. The next click then it says is 2 to 5 to 3. Then it sends current to here, 1, 2, 3. So this is where you get your ignition, which is where you'd put your white wires. That's where you put them, because that's where you get your oil pressure signal and your ignition light. That's there. And the final one is 2 to 3 to 1. 2 to 3, and then the power goes here. So it kicks in here, and then that's what actually starts it, and then it kicks back. So that's where the white red goes. Your white would be on this one, which means number 2 should be brown, and your auxiliary then should be number 5. Now if you look at that compared to here, I don't know if I can overlap them or not. It's yeah, it's backwards. Like if you took this image and put this and this the opposite way, then it will probably suit. But either way, this one is wrong. So don't go by this one. Just follow the sequence. So I discovered that, and yeah, it took me a while to figure out why it wasn't working right. So yeah, that's for the early models. Anyway, other than that, everything else went in well. All the lights went back in. Once I've done that, I continued on to where I was. was nothing else to add other than I had to obviously tie in the radio. Which again, I ran a wire from the ignition all the way across, down, and then I tied in the radio as you regularly would. Yeah, everything else was perfect on the car. Now, something else I do want to say. So this one has all LEDs. And I found an awful issue with the signals. This is an ongoing issue, and some cars may get away with it, some don't. It depends, and maybe it depends on the flasher unit. However, on this car, when I wired in the hazards works absolutely fine. Everything works the way it should be. Obviously, with this flasher I use, I had to join the two wires together because it sends it to the dash, to this one, to actually blink. However, the problem was when you put left and right on. What I found is that when you put the left one on, the right was going at the same time. And when you put right on, left was going. And I know this is a brand new wiring harness. I know for a fact there's nothing crossed, there's nothing touching, there's nothing spliced or pinched anywhere. Where was the issue? Well, after about 2 hours of fumbling around, I found out what the problem was. The bulb. The indicator bulb here, this one, because it's dual polarity, the bulb you put in it if you wanted to work correctly, which is AC/DC, the problem with that is that the current is actually dragging around. So in other words, what I found is that when I was testing it, I was unplugging each individual, because at the back you have the two wires that come in from the harness and the one wire from the switch. So when I was testing them both, I realized one had power and one didn't. I had to realize where the wires go, and then I realized that one of them actually feeds the bulb here. So it was that one. So what was happening is, when there's a bulb in there, the power was going in, let's say the left hand side, let's say the green red, and it was going through the bulb, and it was simply going through the bulb into the green white and continuing on, and hence why you get low signal over there. Now, the thing about this is that when I was using the tester, I couldn't detect anything. There was no power at all. Absolutely zero. I'm like, how was the bulb flashing when there was no power? And then I realized I was using a halogen bulb in my tester. Right? So, I was using a halogen bulb. So, because I was using a halogen, there wasn't enough actual power to illuminate the bulb, so I couldn't see it. So when I was checking, I'm like, no, I have no power, everything is good, there's only power this side, but not that side. I realized that because of the voltage difference of an LED compared to a halogen, which is basically like heat, so that the film has to heat up in order to register, when LED is pretty much like instant almost, I couldn't read it. So I changed this to an LED, and then I found the power, and I was able to actually then trace it better to where it was coming from, and I traced it back to the bulb. So we have a problem with this, and I know there's a few ones out there where you put a resistor in there that should work. I haven't tried that yet. One is, there's another little unit you can get, I can't think of the name offhand, I'm not going to lie, and that again should stop the power going over. Unless there's a bulb out there, unless you can find a bulb that has its own circuit that breaks it up, similar to like to your 1157, so the side mark indicator that has two separate ones and keeps them completely separate, that would work. But you'd have to change the head. Like you'd have to find one of these that runs a twin that's small enough to fit in. But yeah, either that or else you just basically take the bulb out. So now, in saying that, if you put a standard AC or a DC in there, it will work absolutely fine, because it's only running off one of them, because it will not transfer the power across. So if you run an AC/DC LED, the power will transfer across. If you put your halogen bulb back in, the power will transfer across, because the halogen works the same way. It's a continuous loop in that way. So for now, everything is perfect in this car except for that, and it's a mind boggle. So now I have to figure out a way of either finding a bulb, maybe there's somebody out there that has a bulb that has an onboard circuit that it can be worked with, find a different bulb housing, or again, find out a way of putting the resonators. Because as far as I know, like with the resonators, it's supposed to be put where the bulbs are. So I'll be putting one somewhere in there, but that'd be, with the two wires, it'd be a little, have to see how that works. Especially with a new harness. You don't want to splice a new harness, that's the thing. So it is a little bit of a conundrum. I know I've put LEDs in other ones before and it hasn't been a problem. Again, it could base on the flasher unit itself. There's a 2-prong, there's a 3-prong, maybe there's a 4-prong that has its own built in and that they work a little better. Again, this is something I'm going to go down the road of seeing. But other than that, yeah, the horn worked fine, like I said, bypassing the relay. So let me just turn it on for you here. So not the greatest of horns, but you can see there is no relay wires. Sorry, it's a little dark in here. It's early morning. This is the fuse box. There is no relay wires at all. This is the these are the yellow wires. These are for the overdrive. So theoretically, it's only one fuse in here. It just bypassed it. And I don't know if I can show you. It's pretty dark, but yeah, down there. I have to put the shroud back in. But yeah, it runs the purple with the purple black straight to the horn, and there's no issues. But yeah, everything else is fine. It says the indicators work fine. So it says they're the flash, and I said that's running this in an LED unit I put in there, where just because of the wires in a different position, you have to test it because each one says it a little different. Even though I followed the diagram where it told you where to put the purple for load, according to the LED flasher unit, it doesn't work that way. You basically have to just flute around with it until it actually works. Sounds odd, but like they're labeled one way, but you probably operate it different compared to the manual. The manual probably tells you based on the halogen, but yeah, and maybe that's another reason why a lot of hazards don't work. But other than that, everything else works fine. Worked out great. I hope this was helpful for a lot of people. And again, if anybody has any questions, comments, concerns, whatever regarding the indicator, get in contact with me and I'll go into a little bit more in depth if you really want to, what I came across. And then I hope it was helpful regarding the ignition, that this book here follow this and not what the other wiring part says, or preferably take a picture of your own before you take it out. And hopefully regarding the wiring, regarding the indicator as well, again the colours, because the colour in the manual, the wiring diagrams were wrong. I have to actually check because these come with a wiring diagram actually. Hang on. Oh, it's not in this one. I have an electrical book that actually has the wiring diagram in it. And I must look up and see if that says the same. Maybe the aftermarket diagram, the color coded one, was wrong. But I have to see about the lettering. As long as the lettering is correct, that's fine. But like, let's face it, we all look at the colors. Anyway, so that's it. This is I just had to finish off putting the shroud in. I see you just have it sitting there. I ran over everything else. Everything is perfect. Everything's nice and clean now. Nice clean wiring all the way through. So yeah, and she's going home this morning to be put away for the winter and driving on next summer, spring, autumn as well. That's it. So sorry for this little short video, and I know you didn't get to see me put the last pieces in, but I was it was being collected today, so I was sort of battling through to get it. And I was in putting all the vent holes and everything back in and wiring up the radio. But yeah, that was my main issue, was trying to figure out why the bulbs wouldn't fit, because like I said, the housings are on the new wiring harnesses are different size. So there you go. There's where the problem is, so you can adjust accordingly. So again, thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.